Okay, it is 8:05 on Tuesday, February 9th. I'd like to call the regular city council meeting of the city of Twinsburg to order. Shannon, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Sorese?
Here.
Mr. Roden?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin? Mrs. Stoffer? Here. And Mr. Steele?
Here.
Okay, we're all here. All right, next we will have the invocation and the pledge led by Mrs. Stoffer.
We ask for guidance and direction in all city matters before us tonight. We give thanks to be able to be together. Let us continue to strive to make our community a better place. Help us to work together, and may we give our best always. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Stoffer. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the January 26th meeting. Anybody have any corrections or changes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as written. Next, audience participation. Shannon.
Yes, first we have Bob Hughes.
Hey, Bob, if you would please state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Bob Thews. My address is 2229 Demi Drive, and I live in the Meadowwood subdivision. Okay.
Thank you.
And would like to talk a little bit about elections. I live in the voting precinct 5A, and with the recent mayoral election, there were lots of signage throughout the plan, and that's good to see in a city of this size. Unfortunately, some of the signs were posted improperly and in violation of Twinsburg election laws. There were signs posted illegally by all candidates. However, the largest portion of improper illegal signs were Yates signs. Now, when the homeowners were informed of the rules for posting signs, they immediately reposted them properly. Most of them reposted, but not all. One homeowner, when informed that he improperly posted his Yates sign, took the stance that the law did not apply to him. He hammered the sign deep into the tree lawn to ensure that it would not be moved. That's one incident. I also worked for the Summit County Board of Elections in the primary and general election. I worked at 2 different precincts. Again, for the most part, electioneering was done legally and respectfully, except for one candidate, Yates. In the primary, 2 people entered the voting area wearing Yates shirts. One entered around 10:30, and the other one entered around 4 p.m. Both ladies made a little fuss, enough to attract attention, and make it look like they were being treated improperly. These people were electioneering outside of this precinct. They should have known and should have been informed prior to entering that this is a violation of the Summit County Board of Elections. Second incident. At the general election, I worked another precinct, and once again, we had 2 ladies in Yates shirts show up at different times to vote. Again, a little fuss, a little more attention. Incident number 3. I don't know about you. The 3 incidences involving one candidate cause a concern for me. Granted, it's a small sample, but no other violations were detected from any other candidate in the sample. Maybe it was just a coincidence, or maybe the supporters are a reflection of the candidate himself. And that in that election laws are not that important and don't need to be adhered to. Boy, I hope my suspicion is wrong, and I wish the new mayor well. I guess we will see in the next 4 years. Congratulations, Mr. Yates, and God help the law-abiding citizens of Twinsburg.
Thank you. Any comment?
There's probably too much there to comment on, but there was. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for your comment, and thanks for the congratulations.
Okay, Shannon, next.
Deborah Smith.
Welcome back, Deborah.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Smith, and I live in Bedford, but my business address is 9733 Ravenna Road. And I am a trustee of our Community Hunger Center, and I was here last August and told you about the things that we were doing. And I just wanted to update everyone. First of all, we have 2 new staff members. We have Carol Robinson, who was the original founding executive director of the Emergency Hunger Center, which later became the Emergency Assistance Center. And then we have Terry Pateo, who has a lot of business experience, and she's our operations director. In 2014, we served 1,959 people, and over 60% of those people were from Twinsburg, that's not counting the township or Reminderville. Last year, we served 3,697, which is an 88% increase. And since we started in June of 13, we've served over 6,500 people. The big news for right now is we've joined the Akron-Canton Food Bank, and we will have quite a bit more food available. It will all be fresh food, though. It will not be canned goods so much. We'll have fruit and vegetables and dairy, and we currently do have meat available. We've been giving fresh meat out. We're also planning on becoming trained on using the Ohio Benefits Bank, where we can help citizens sign up for Medicaid and food stamps and any other kind of government benefits that might be available to them. We are considering evening and weekend hours because we have a number of working poor who come to us, and right now we keep the center open longer so they can get there at 5:30. We usually close at 4 so that they can get their food, but we are thinking about formalizing that. And then having joined the Akron-Canton Food Bank, we're going to be seeking funding for a delivery vehicle, and that vehicle would be to obtain the food from the food bank and bring it back to the center, and also to deliver food to residents in our service area, which we do now. And we'll be able to get additional equipment and fixtures. And the one thing I would ask is, we've been here now going on 3 years, and we are nonprofits. Nobody's making a fortune there. And we would like to be included in the Fill-A-Bag food drive, or the citywide food drive, if you have another one this year, because we are helping a lot of people here in Twinsburg, and I think that's appropriate. We've been around, we're established, and you're more than welcome to come and visit us. So thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, next, Shannon.
There is none.
Okay, so that'll end the resident portion. Next, any awards or presentations? I don't see any, so I guess we'll move on from there. We'll go into council communication and committee reports. Mrs. Stauffer.
None of my, the Finance Committee met, but I'm sure Mr. Scafidi will report on that.
Okay. That's it?
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Steele.
They already met. They approved 3 different plans with some notes on it, and there was a gentleman came in about signs, and they referred to him what he needed to do to get a sign criteria together to meet the city stuff, the city code.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Roden.
Good evening. The Environmental Commission is meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. And also, I just want to do an update on the simple recycling. That's the clothing and soft goods and things like that. And so since June of 2015 to the end of this past year, Simple Recycling has collected 33,695 pounds of recyclables. It's a total of 1,982 stops. And just for the month of January, 2,046 pounds were collected, and just 140 stops. So we're already, building up from where we were. So if anyone has questions about it or needs to get a new bag or something like that, call the city, and we can help get you the correct bag to do that. But it's a great program, and we're happy to have it here in Twinsburg. That's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Mr. Sorese.
Yes, the Twins Day meeting committee met last Wednesday, and they announced the theme for this coming year, and it's going to be an outer space theme. Mayor Yates was invited to the meeting and showed up and was able to meet some of the board members for the Twins Day committee. And one of the things that in preparation for the mayor's attendance, Twins Day went back through their records. I know many people in the community consider Twins Day an inconvenience because we all get tied up with the roads and the traffic and the people and so forth. But one of the things that they had done recently is gone back in their records over the last 20 years or so and looked at what kind of contributions they had made to this city through the nonprofit groups that work at the Twins Days Festival. And although the numbers aren't complete and some of the older records, of course the festival goes back 40 years, but some of the older records are non-existent. But over the years they were able to go back. They have given well over $600,000 to different organizations in the community. And personally, having worked with the athletic boosters at the school, I know that we average $9,000 or $10,000 a year just helping with the parking and the tickets and so forth. So for many organizations, it is a bonus in the community. It doesn't make traffic any less, and it doesn't make the inconvenience for many of us any less. But they do try to support the community. They're very insistent whenever there's a job to be done. We as a committee always look around for groups in the city that we could help who need to raise funds, generally for kids, but for different organizations. And that's one of the things that they've always been very good about, is trying to give back to the community and support the organizations within our community. So that was some of the discussion that was had. It's a little early in the year, so a lot of the final plans are just starting up. Usually the first thing is the selection of a theme, so now things will start steamrolling forward toward August for this year. And that's the only committee that met, so that's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Mr. Fury.
Thank you. The Planning Commission met on February 1st and approved a final site plan for General Electric GE Reuter Stokes to put in a 16-acre solar panel operation to help lower their energy costs and also be somewhat of a demonstration to other businesses in the area of why that might be cost effective for them long term. They mentioned that that's a 25-year commitment minimum that they would be in the Twinsburg area. So significant investment in the infrastructure of those buildings. The only issues that we're concerned with was the soil and water sample, that the Board of Zoning Appeals, there needs to be some variances with the property next door. They're actually looking at a shared landscaping program and some final landscaping, but it's a 16-acre, about 3-foot-high array of panels that will help power that plant. The next scheduled meeting is possibly February 22nd. That's a Monday at 7 o'clock. And the reason it's possible is that there might be a reoccurring meeting with Dunkin' Donuts, who's going through the process of getting final approvals, and that as of today, I'm not sure that that's been done. If not, we'll move the next meeting till the first Monday in March. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Under my report tonight, we did have a Finance Committee meeting earlier this evening. We had quite a bit on the agenda. Just go through, we talked about the 2016 appropriation revisions. There was a reduction. The mayor and our finance director, Karen House, went through it. Karen, what was that number again we reduced it by?
$910,000.
$910,000. We did read it once
Or
already.
14, I'm sorry, 914.
914. We did read it once, and they asked that we suspend the rules tonight and pass it as an emergency, as we have some bills that need to be paid. So I believe the council, for the most part, is going to do that this evening. We talked about the 2016 estimated revenues, as well as building reserves in for future stabilization of the city. Our next Finance Committee meeting will be on February 23rd at 6 o'clock here at City Hall. And that's all I have under my report. I would like to go back to Mr. Roden. He does have one more item to discuss.
Thank you. I know that some of you are probably here tonight and just because you think we're going to discuss the roundabout, the second roundabout in front of Meadowwood and Eakins Green, and just letting you know that at this point, we're not doing anything. We're going to do a little further investigation, in my opinion. We're going to, we're looking into it and doing a poll. I really want to get more feedback from the community and who it involves. We're going to discuss that at a future time. So we're moving forward as planned, but at this point right now, there's nothing moving forward. But it's not to say that it's not going to be readdressed. As Mr. Yates has said earlier, we would still have time in the future as we see what's happening with the first roundabout. So, but in the meantime, before that does happen, we are looking into using Blackboard Connect and maybe some different possibilities and how to poll the communities and see what the feedback is from the community. Because for every good letter I get that people like roundabouts, I get another one that says they don't like roundabouts, or another one that says they don't like roundabouts. And so I'd like to, see more information out there. We are elected by you, and we should be listening to what the constituents want. So, and I do understand, after talking to Ms. Doffer, in regards to funding we may lose and things like that, or money that we've already spent. But at the same time, I think I would like to look at more information besides just, what the engineers say. So at this time, I'm just letting you know, because I know some of you have come here and thinking that we're going to vote on something or do something, and at this point we are not. So I just wanted to let you know that. But it's not as though it's being forgotten. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's report.
Yes, thank you. This last couple of weeks, there's been a number of events I've attended. I did go to our fire union does a night at the races. It was a great event. I went last year. It seems this one was more crowded but well attended. A lot of fun, and hopefully helped raise some funds for them. But it was a good time by all. I did also attend the 3-chamber women's expo, which there were guys there, and it was. I hadn't been to it before, but it was at the Grand Ballroom at the Hilton, and it was I couldn't believe, packed with vendors and packed with just people that are part. There's times that I couldn't even get down a certain aisle. There were so many people at that event. So it was a well-run event. The chamber does a great job. So if you for events in the future, I'd encourage you to attend them. We did have a meeting in-house here looking at basically share the road signs for bicyclists on our roads. I'm an avid cyclist, and we have a lot of them here in town that have been pushing to have some either bike lanes or some signage, something to make our cars that pass through Twinsburg and our residents more aware of bicycles on the road. So we are looking at some different main roadways and some signage in-house, and as we get more into that program, I'll be sharing more information. I did attend the CarStar Tim's Collision got a national customer service award from Nationwide Insurance, and I was able to attend that event and see their operation. And I've had cars repaired there in the past. I have 2 teenage boys, so I suspect I may have cars in the future repaired there. But I just want to commend them for the award that they got, and their new owner, who's been there almost 2 years, just how he runs that operation. I mean, you could have literally sat down on the floor of that auto body shop and had lunch. Very clean, very professional, but just want to recognize them for that award. I did attend the Twins Day meeting. I met with the board before their actual meeting, and got to meet all the board members and just talk about kind of their plans for the upcoming years. And we were able to reflect back, so they were able to share with me a lot of the support that they do provide, and Mr. Ceresi did share that. A lot of our organizations depend on Twins Day for some of the funding they receive. They work hard for that funding. When we have our tab working parking lots, they're out there working hard, but they do bank on that money. So, but I was able to get a lot of information, a lot of background information on our Twins Day event that I had experienced in the past. This past weekend we had our TAP tournament, which, for those who don't know, it's a wrestling tournament for middle schools that's really considered probably one of the more elite tournaments here in the Northeast. We bring in, I believe, 37 schools. 37 schools to compete over a 2-day period. I think we ran, 7 mats Friday night, and then 4 on Saturday. And it's a great event. It's well attended. A lot of these kids look at this as almost like a state meet because that's the quality of teams that we get for it. But I just want to commend them. I was there on Friday night, and it's such a well-run event. And in the future, when that event goes on, I encourage you to go out and just see the excitement of, there's hundreds of middle schoolers competing at a very high level in a wrestling tournament. So, and then lastly, we've had Relay for Life here in the city. I know the last couple of years, and last year it went to a one-day event. We have a group of 4 teenage girls who are co-chairing the event this year. So these are high school girls who have taken upon themselves to try to get this community excited again about Relay for Life. I think they've taken up this cause. I've met with them personally. They've met with, I believe I got a call from Joe Miglerini in Macedonia, so they're meeting with Macedonia. They're meeting with all the areas around here, and I would encourage any of the residents, put teams together, and they've got a website. It's www.relayforlife.org/Twinsburg. Get a team together, participate. They're going back to an overnight. These girls are really putting their hearts and soul into this, and they're planning this event out. So I would just like to encourage the community to get involved in the Relay for Life support of the American Cancer Society again. So, and that's all I have for a report. And we've got department heads.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll start with Karen.
Good evening, everyone. We did receive our first advance for our income tax, $1,219,932. That's 4% increase as of to date. I'll give you a full report once we receive our final distribution for this month. We did have a Finance Committee meeting to go over the 2016 permanent appropriations. Currently, we're operating under a temporary budget. The permanent appropriation has been presented to Council. General fund proposed budget is $32,609,589. Compared to last year's appropriations, $32,016,847. The difference between those two is 2% in our general fund. The overall appropriations compared what is presented tonight for 2016, $52,916,490, compared to last year's total budget, $56,532,756. That reflects a 6% decrease overall in our total proposed budget this year. Estimated revenue, just touch briefly on that. Estimated revenue for 2016 for just the general fund is $22,737,088. Compared to actual proposed appropriations, $32,609,589. That does reflect us requiring us to go into our reserves of $19,236,967. That reflects almost a 51% into our reserves, leaving an estimated ending balance of $9,364,466, and that is at the full measure. Typically, we do not expense our total proposed budget in any given year. On average, it averages between 80 to 85%, but that's proposed at the full measure. Our total estimated revenue, again, I think I said $41,419,140. Is that too many numbers to write down? I'll give it to you later. And again, the total proposed budget, $52,916,490.
All right. Thank you. Chief Morgan?
Good evening. For the month of January, the fire department responded to 184 calls for service. Compared to last year, that's actually 54 calls less than we did in January of last year. Some of the a couple of notable events through the course of the month. On the 7th of January, we responded to Grand Village for an elderly patient that was not breathing. Personnel arrived to find staff doing CPR. We transferred care to us and transported the patient to the Cleveland Clinic where in Twinsburg where spontaneous respirations and pulse were regained. So it just shows what effective response and good teamwork can do. And on the 11th, we also sent a med unit to Mutual Aid Northfield Center for that fatal house explosion that they had. Our personnel helped with extinguishment and overhaul and eventually the removal of the victims from the structure. Other activities through the course of the month, we completed 86 inspections. Again, that's based on trying to do all the 1,380 businesses in the city and the township twice a year. And through the course of January, there were no fire investigations that were opened or closed for that matter. We had a number of public education events in January where we had 435 contacts, and most of that was in the schools. And we had 74 different training events, 106 different training events through the course of the month, and a total of 415 hours of training. Under points of interest, the weather warning siren test that was completed on February 6th, all the sirens functioned properly. And as Mayor Yates mentioned, did want to extend a thank you to all the people that attended the night at the races to benefit some of the charitable activities of the firefighters local union here at the fire department. That's my report for this evening.
Thanks, Chief. Chris Campbell, Public Works.
Good evening, Council. Well, the trucks are on the road tonight. We've got one of our few events this year, snow and ice. This is our 9th event, and last year at this time, we had completed 18 events. We've applied just over 1,200 tons of salt. Last year, we were over 3,000 tons at this point. 15,900 gallons of brine last year. This year, we're at 10,000. So it's been a pretty quiet year, and that is good in a lot of respects because we're able to do some other work. The tree removal program that we assist with the engineering department with, December and January, we completed the tree removal for the spring planting. We were able to get back out there because of the weather, and we removed the trees and 98 of the stumps for the fall planting. So we're pretty far ahead on programs like that. Another program we've hit pretty hard is the tree pruning. As I told you before, we've sent a few of our employees to school for that, some training. And we now have an arborist on staff. And to date, they have pruned a total of 822 trees. So that is just a great catch-up that they're doing. The trees, they're in a lot of need for that kind of thing. So we're looking for some good things out of that program, looking for the trees to really, to look pretty good, all these tree lawn trees. So we're excited about that program. They actually got out there with the storm area checks, which we don't usually do this time of year, but they checked those areas with no debris found, and they actually started a litter removal. So those are things that this time of year you don't even think about doing, but they're out there doing those kind of things. So things are going pretty well. It's been a good winter for us. Building maintenance-wise, we're doing a lot of projects, so getting a lot of good work done. I did want to touch on the sidewalk program that's been talked about tonight. And I do want to let you know that that equipment that we're looking at will level sidewalks. So if we have a sidewalk that has settled, has tilted, we'll go in there, we drill holes, and then we pump grout with this equipment. So it'll bring it up to a level state. What Amy is doing, it's the areas where maybe a tree roots have affected the sidewalk. You have to remove that. You prune, or you cut the tree roots, or whatever you have to do. You dig the area and you replace that sidewalk. So it's a lot of work. Time-wise, it takes quite a bit of time compared to what we anticipate doing. So it's a catch-up that we're doing. We're trying to get to the point where service, we hope, will be able to keep up with the yearly demand. So what she's doing is going to hopefully get us to the point where we can, manage this thing from a department level. So we appreciate her help. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Noga?
Good evening. During the month of January, the City of Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,094 calls for service among the Twinsburg Police and Fire Departments and the Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. Twinsburg police officers arrested and or cited 144 suspects into court on 206 different counts. Twinsburg officers issued 197 written warnings and 16 parking citations. Officers investigated 32 traffic crashes, of which 3 were injury crashes, 6 were on private property, and none were fatal. I would like to invite any parents of high school or middle school students to a parents forum on Thursday, February 11th at 7 p.m. at the Twinsburg High School Auditorium. Sheriff Steve Berry is bringing a very engaging program that has to do with choices and consequences. He had seen an episode of Dr. Phil about some juveniles who were involved in a home invasion where a homicide occurred, and those juveniles are now in jail for a very, very long time. So he wants to present to parents so that parents understand some of the laws that are regarding those issues. He will also be presenting, he and I will be presenting as well to the high school Thursday morning. We will also be spending a portion of this program talking about social media and the dangers of social media and making good choices when using social media. So we will be doing that. And again, I encourage everyone, if you're a parent with a high school and a middle schooler, to please plan on attending. Finally, I would like to send my condolences out to the family of retired Cuyahoga Falls and Stowe Police Chief Lou Durker, who passed away last Saturday. He passed away after a very valiant fight with cancer. Lou was very much a mentor to me in my first few years as chief. He retired from Stowe back in June of 2014. He was just a very, very good man, a very wise man, and we are, in this county, are at a loss for not having him around anymore. So again, extend my condolences to them. His funeral will be on Friday. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Jim, do you have a report or no? Okay. All right. Then that is it?
That's it? Okay. Thank you. Then we'll move into the legislation portion of tonight's meeting, and we will start with Ordinance 02-2016.
An ordinance amending Section 911.05M of Chapter 911 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Twinsburg to clarify and update requirements for exemption of residential initial connection sewer charges.
Okay. Again, we've talked about this several times. It's been on the agenda for last month. Talked about it again tonight at the caucus meeting. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 02-2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Stauffer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 02-2016 passes 6-0. We have Ordinance 03-2016.
An ordinance amending the Twinsburg occupancy program established by Ordinance 144, 2004 by changing eligibility criteria and certain administrative procedures.
Again, ordinance 03 has been on the agenda the last month and discussed earlier this evening. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 03, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese, any discussion? Hearing none, I will, Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 03, 2016 passes 6-0. Next, we have ordinance 06, 2016.
The annual appropriation ordinance for the year 2016, prepared by council from estimates submitted by the mayor, providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2016.
Okay, at this time, I would like to make a motion that we place ordinance 06, 2016 on its third and final reading, declare it an emergency.
I think you have to adopt, you have to get a motion
To
to
amend.
be able to take action to amend it to add the emergency clause before you arbitrarily put the emergency clause in.
Oh, that's right, we're just doing this tonight. Okay. So we'd need a motion to add the emergency clause to ordinance 06, 2016.
So make a
Making
motion
that
to adopt, then you amend it, and then you take it to the emergency.
Okay. So is there a second?
I'll second your motion to adopt.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
Shannon?
Mr. Scafidi?
No.
You don't want to vote on a motion to adopt. Now you want to make an amendment to add the emergency clause.
Wait a minute, we didn't even make a motion to suspend the rules on it yet.
Right. You have to make a motion to add the clause before you can take the clause, do the clause. You do it right now, there's no emergency clause in this.
So we made a motion to add the emergency
You
clause.
made a motion to adopt. Now
Any
you can take
discussion?
action on it. Now the action is you make a motion to add the emergency, standard emergency clause.
To add the emergency clause. Okay, let's get this straight. We're making a motion to adopt ordinance 06, 2016.
We have the
Motion
first and the
to
second.
amend.
Yeah, we have the first and
And
second. We need a
adding-
motion to amend ordinance. We need a motion to amend ordinance 6, 2016 to add the emergency, standard emergency clause.
You
That's
got
what
it.
we need.
All right, perfect. Shannon made the motion.
I have no power.
All right.
Power.
I don't know. They don't, because they don't know what's going on either. Okay, that's the motion. I made it. Mr. Fury second, right? Okay. Any discussion?
Purpose of the amendment was to add the emergency clause so that we can pass this tonight.
Right. Okay. So we can pay the bills. There's bills that need to be paid. We there?
Need to vote on it.
All right, we're there though, right? All right, now we're ready to vote.
Okay.
Shannon, call it.
So I'm calling the roll on the motion to amend.
Correct.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that motion passes. Now we need a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance number 6, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Collins, please call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
No.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
4-0. So can't do it too.
You need 5 votes for
Okay,
emergency.
so now we can't do it as an emergency.
So you can vote on it now anyway.
All right.
Okay. So
So now we're going to vote to
adopt
Adopt
it
it.
as is.
as is. Okay.
You
06,
can't.
2016.
You can't, because if you don't go to an emergency.
Yeah, it's only on
that's
it's on its
that's
first
on
reading.
its-
Now, tonight it was its second reading.
So it can't be passed without.
Right.
Well, so it's just.
That's it. So tonight was just a second reading?
It's
Is that
done.
where we're at? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We passed that one now? We're done? All right, next we got Resolution 13, 2016.
5 votes.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional service contract with David M. Nastros to continue to provide services as the law director.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 13, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Any discussion on that?
No, again, this is a new contract for Mr. Maestros to serve as law director. That's an update of his contract that hasn't changed, I believe, since 2008. So I'd ask council to pass it tonight.
Mr. Fury.
Represents a 6% increase, and again, there hasn't been an increase in 8 years. Mr. Maestros has, since he's become our law director, has reduced the fees that we pay for outside services, and specifically Kastner Westner that we used for HR, almost by $100,000 a year. I think this is still an extremely efficient and good deal for the city for the amount of time and the expertise he offers to us. So I've been in favor of voting for this. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 13, 2016 passes 6-0. We have ordinance number 14, 2016.
An ordinance establishing salaries, wages, and employment descriptions for certain employees of the city and updating classifications of employees to be known as the salary ordinance and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 14, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Any discussion on the emergency?
Purpose for the emergency is that this ordinance affects one new position that would be under the finance department, and they want to fill it shortly.
Okay. Any other discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, now I need a motion for adoption of ordinance 14, 2016 as an emergency. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mrs. Stoffer, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion on the adoption? Shannon, call the roll.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 14, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. We have ordinance 15, 2016.
An ordinance establishing wage increases for the city's non-bargaining unit employees for 2016 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 15, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury, second. Any discussion on the emergency?
Purpose for the emergency is so that wages can be set for 2016 that'll be backdated to January 1st.
Okay. Any other discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Okay, now I need a motion to adopt ordinance 15, 2016 as an emergency. Who wants to make that motion? Mr. Sorese? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden, any discussion?
Again,
Shannon, call the roll. Whoops.
I was going to say, again,
There.
this is for our non-bargaining unit employees, and this would be a 2.5% increase for their wages for last year.
Okay. Shannon, call the roll. Ms. House, you want to speak? Did you want to say something on that?
In regards to this one or
the one before?
Let's finish this.
Go ahead and finish
We need to
that.
finish
Okay.
this first. Mr.
Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Okay, ordinance 15, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Next, we have resolution 16, 2016.
An ordinance accepting the quote of Advanced Underground Inspection Incorporated for the 2016 manhole rehabilitation project.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 16, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Any discussion? This is for manhole rehabilitation. We've done this the last few years. The engineer went out and solicited for bids, and we are awarding tonight to Advanced as underground inspection as the lowest and best bid. Any other discussion? Amy, call the roll, please. I'm sorry. Shannon, call the roll. I'm looking at Amy here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yeah.
Okay. Resolution 16, 2016 passes 6-0. We have ordinance 17, 2016.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Parent Asphalt Company for the 2016 sidewalk program and declaring an emergency.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 17, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? This is for the annual sidewalk repair program. I believe that the engineer would like to get this contract in order so they could make plans and preparations to go right to work as soon as the season allows it. Correct? Okay. Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Thank you. Now I need a motion to adopt ordinance 17, 2016 as an emergency. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion. to
Mr.
adopt.
Sorese, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury, okay. I noticed on this ordinance, we do have a typo, I believe. In the numeric amount on the legislation, it says $77,984. On the written amount is $74,984.25. I believe looking back at the bids, it was $74,984.25. So that we can correct that that typo. Okay. Other than that, anybody have any more discussion? Okay. Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 17, 2016 passes as emergency 6-0. We have resolution 18, 2016.
A resolution authorizing and supporting the submission of an application for funding through the Safe Routes to School Travel Plan.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 18, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion?
Now, again, this is an application that Mr. Finch will be submitting to try to see if we can be eligible for any funding opportunities through Department of Transportation in developing safe routes to school for both walking and bicycling for children.
Okay. Anything else? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 18, 2016 passes 6-0. We have resolution 19, 2016.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for November and December 2015.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 19, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, Shannon, would you call the roll?
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 19, 2016 passes 6-0. That ends the legislation portion.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. House would like to talk on 06,
Can I
2016.
revisit 06 just for a moment? I understand
Sure.
we did have 2 no votes to pass on an emergency. As indicated at the Finance Committee meeting, we have some major pending invoices to be paid, particularly that's applicable to the state grant funding. In order for us to get that money back, we have to expense it, and we have 2 major vendors for the cornerstone that we have to pay. That's over $390,000 that I indicated at the Finance Committee meeting. So I'm asking council if they could be so kind to reconsider their vote to pass it on an emergency so I can pay these vendors. And that's why I brought it up, because we do have some bills that are coming in that are large, that will put our special revenue fund in a negative balance if we don't treat these.
Okay, that vote was 4-2, right?
Well, the emergency failed for lack of having 5 votes for the emergency was a problem.
So a motion to reconsider has to come from one of the people that had voted against it. Is that correct?
Well, this is your interesting theory on these things, because it has to come from a member of the majority, and essentially what you have is a minority that killed it, meaning 2 people can stop it. So I think the reconsideration still would apply to a member of the majority, okay, to bring it up for reconsideration. So
I was wrong.
If one of the 4 can bring it up, I mean, I'm not sure what change there would be in the voting, but I think it's still one of the 4 would have to bring it up rather than the minority bring it up.
I guess so. Go ahead.
Do you follow me on
You
that?
have something to say?
I'm just thinking, so there's a process to start from scratch, because we've already made a motion that's amended it to add the emergency clause.
That passed.
Okay. So you'd have to start with putting on its third and final reading to see if the emergency passed again.
Right, you don't have to make a motion to amend. The amendment already passed. You're at the point in time where the amendment's been made, there's an emergency, and you can reconsider the emergency.
We have to suspend the rules on it. Correct. And start over. So I guess it's in order that we discuss it at this time, right?
We discuss it.
Yes, like I said, normally in a motion for reconsideration, it's a member of the majority because the majority defeats or prevails. In this case, because it only takes 2 votes to cancel it, it would be illogical to say the majority is now 2 people as compared to the 4. So I would say to bring it back up would be the 4, one member of the 4 to bring it back up.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess hearing the finance director's comments and the nature of the bills that need to be paid, and the amounts that need to be paid, is there any reconsideration from the negative side? Or any
Just
further,
make the motion
anything
and
you'd like
vote
to
and
further
get it- and
discuss?
instead of discuss it, just make the motion and go through and.
Yeah, well, I just want to see if there's an issue, something you want to talk about, well, then let's talk about it. Why let it go through again and then let it fail again? So, anybody have any questions for Karen? I mean, we did have 1 reading on it. This would have been the 2nd reading tonight, so it would be passed
The
in
only
2
change
weeks.
that took place is the existing budget that was before you back in October was that we reduced the budget by $910,000. And it was never the intent to just go to the full measure because we were operating at 1/4. And the intent of passing and presenting it to you at 1/4 was to allow the new council members an opportunity to ask questions. But I presented it to you back in October, and we reduced it even further from that point.
What do we need to pay?
Well, each department has their own issues. I mean, I think we can start with the chief. You have some pending budget issues. Yeah, could you, just for example, Derek's not here.
What are the
we just-
details of what we need to pay going to make a difference?
Yeah.
Still. I mean, we've had a finance director share that we've got pending. I look at every single PO that comes out, so I understand we have, and every time I approve one, it pops up that we don't have the budget to do it. So, yeah, we have a lot of stuff pending, so I'm not sure we can sit here and walk through every detail of what the city
I've always
anticipates spending.
presented, when I passed that on 1/4 budget, I'd always said the intent was to allow the new members to ask questions about the current budget. It has been reduced down to $910,000. There have been no questions asked of me from any of the new members of concern of why this can't be passed on an emergency.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Anything that can be shared? Hearing none, I will make a motion to suspend the rules on Ordinance 6, 2016, place it on its 3rd and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion? Okay. Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
No.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Okay. Okay, next we'll move on to unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous business. Mrs. Stoffer.
Oh, let's see. I just wanted to thank the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters for all the hard work that they did in the TAP tournament this weekend, and let them know that I really appreciate everything that they do for us and the school district. I'd also like to congratulate the 8th grade boys on an undefeated season at the middle school. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Steele.
I was at the wrestling tournament volunteering Friday night, and I went home with the sore knees, ankles, and hips from walking for 5 straight hours. It is the largest middle school wrestling event in Ohio, and it's a wonder how well it is run. And I have nothing else.
Okay. Mr. Roden.
I would only say that if anybody has more comments, emails, good or bad, I'd love to get them about the roundabout, and please send them my way if you have any more discussion. That's it for this evening. Thank you.
Okay. I have one motion I'd like to make. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the clerk to submit a form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control for a new liquor license for the city, as we discussed earlier.
I'll second.
Mr. Fury, second. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yeah.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Ceresi?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-0. And we did discuss the Golf Advisory Board, and I guess we're preparing legislation for the next meeting in blank, and we'll fill in the name at the next meeting. Mr. Ceresi.
I have nothing, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Fury.
I'd like to congratulate Deborah Smith and our Community Hunger Center for their growth and the work that they do with their community. And I hope that we do include them in any future endeavors we have. They just posted something today that the National Honor Society from Twinsburg High School had donated a significant amount of goods to them. So it's good to see the schools working with them as well. Just for future with council, I think that we haven't looked at rules of council since January of 2010, and we haven't looked at standards of council since November of 2008. I think that, we have these. I think we ought to look at them because they've become outdated, and just like to take a look in the near future and update them if we could. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you. One other thing, that there was a gentleman that had some questions about political signs. There are some challenges with enforcing Twinsburg political sign ordinance, and Mr. Gates, Mr. Finch, and myself attended a seminar in December, November timeframe that talked about ways to be adherent to the several Supreme Court rulings on that. And we're in the process of redoing or updating the political sign part of the sign ordinance, and other parts of the sign ordinance as well, but specifically the political sign ordinance so that it can be enforced in future elections. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Mayor.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Maestro.
I just want to thank the mayor and council for approval of the new contract tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Shannon.
I have a couple questions. Caucus, we talked about a motion to add elected officials to 1316's contract. Do we still need a motion or no?
We're going to treat that as a typographical error in that second
Okay.
bullet point, and I'll make that correction.
Okay.
Okay. Then we'll move on. I would like to make a motion that we...
No,
Oh,
I
you
was just
did?
going to say,
I'm sorry.
do we need a motion to remove the executive session? Was my next one. Since we no longer need it.
Excuse me.
Do we need a motion, or we just don't act upon it?
We just don't act on it.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we excuse Joanne McFerrin from tonight's meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Ceresi, second. Any discussion? Shannon?
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Ceresi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing as there's no other business before us tonight, we will declare the meeting adjourned.